Hey, Pod, I want to thank you guys for the content each week. I always enjoy tapping in with y'all. So I wish this could be a conversation I could have with y'all, but I want to talk about the latest generation of hip hop artists, specifically the ones that come after the Travis Scott and Young Thug class, who are also on a mainstream level. I feel like we've seen a lot of promising artists at one point or another from this latest generation. They've had a hot song or a hot moment, but we haven't really seen anyone go on a 3 or 5 year run, in that amount of time. And so I'm talking about the artists like Roddy Ricch, DaBaby, Lil Baby, Lil TJ, Young Blue, Polo G, Young Moneybagg Yo, Saweetie, 42 Doug, Lil Tecca, Fabio, a lot of those guys. And I think there's another group like Kodak Black, Lil Uzi, Yachty, and Jack Harlow, where they've had mainstream success. They're still putting out music. They're still active. They're not really kind of competing at that upper echelon level. And I think that speaks to like a larger thing where we don't really see any of these artists wanting that top spot. No one is really going for the throne as previous generations had. I think there are artists who have shown like a lot of staying power, like 21 Savage, Meg, Lotto, Glorilla, and Doja. And I think in several more years, if they continue their trajectory, they'll definitely be cemented for their era. But just want to have a conversation with y'all. What you think? It's been hard for like a lot of these artists to kind of.
I mean, we've been having this conversation, I feel like, for years. I'll humbly say, I think I was the first podcaster to bring this up. Well, as much as I like Lil Baby, everyone was like, he's the next one. We have not seen a rap superstar since Drake, Kendrick Cole. We've had great artists, but they've never even remotely come close to the superstar role the way those guys have. I mean, I think Future, Nicki, Travis, all great examples, but this new generation, there's no star. There isn't. There just simply is not a new star.
But we know why, though. Like, we've had this talk years ago, and I told you years ago, it's easier for artists or for somebody to get into the industry now because all you need is a record that'll go viral, take off, and then all of a sudden the industry is gonna, or the label's gonna put money behind this person who's not even a real artist, who just caught a record and is not ready for that type of responsibility of upholding a certain ethic of music and culture and things like that. That's not what they're in it for. They're just trying to get out of their mom's basement and pay some bills.
I think that happens, but to this gentleman's point, like, I think Uzi has put in his 1,000 hours. As much as like Uzi isn't always my type of vibe, like, I would never think Uzi was just some artist that happened to just get on and like had one viral moment. He's been here and impacted the culture through his art. Like, he's a real artist, even if it's not my type of shit. I can respect what Uzi is doing and understand that it hasn't strayed that far away from real artist integrity. Like,
yeah, but
there's a bunch of people that just get on for a fucking week and it's like you had one song, whatever. But he named people at 21, Meg, Lotto, Kodak, like, all have great catalogs and are real artists down to their core. They're just not superstars. I don't know if that's just a reflection of how consumers get music. There's just so many options. And, it's not like when it was radio where we were listening to these 7 songs every day, no matter what. We have access to listen to whatever the fuck we want. Discovery is different now. So maybe that's why there aren't superstars, but.
No, I don't. Well, maybe, but I'm more on the side of a lot of these artists. When you say superstar, I don't think people understand exactly what it takes to be a superstar. There's a certain level of consistency. There's a certain attention to detail. There's a certain commitment to getting better. To be a superstar, you have to be, all cylinders have to be moving at the same time consistently. And a lot of people just either don't care to be that consistent, are not dedicated enough to getting better. There's a lot of things that I think goes into why there may not be the next, or who can we see as the next superstar. I think that we have good artists that make good songs and good albums and, put on a good show, good performance, but superstar, which is why you see somebody like a Usher who is still probably 30 years, if not more, into music, into his career, and he's still able to go on a world tour. He's still able to go sell out arenas and, get residencies that sell out and, with music that he's put out over his career, because Usher has dedicated himself to a certain level of consistency, to a certain level of greatness that I think a lot of people are not willing to dedicate themselves to. So it speaks more to the person and the artist as to why we may not have the next quote unquote superstar. But it's just again, I think that it's because access has been granted to too many undeserving is why we probably have a bigger pool of artists and people that were like, hey, what about this person, that person? Yeah, but in all reality, that person was never even supposed to really get on.
When are we allowed to have a conversation of maybe their music's just not that good?
That too. That's part of it. I said consistency. You have to be great consistently. You have to put out hits consistently. You have to put out great albums consistently to be considered a superstar. Every time you hit the stage, people have to be in awe. You have to get better and better every time somebody sees you. Like, it's a lot that goes into being a superstar. You have to change your entire, the way you think, the way you walk, talk, the things you believe in, like you have to change completely, evolve into
DNA.
you have to change your DNA completely if you're trying to be a superstar. And a lot of people are not willing to make that type of a commitment.
And I saw Peach's eyebrows raise up. I'm not saying that about Uzi, Meg, Lotto, 21 Savage. I like all of those artists' music. I'm just saying the level of superstardom maybe doesn't match music-wise. But also, I think it's kind of cool that Uzi, even while his core fan base is not niche, obviously we've seen Uzi sell out insane venues, it's not the most palatable pop music.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's kind of cool that these artists don't have to lean into what's going to work for everybody. And maybe that's the case now, because back then, if you wanted to be a superstar, you had to make music that everyone could listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my mom could listen to it in the car and both be satisfied.
Right.
Maybe it's better that there's not superstars. I like that Uzi doesn't have to do what he's supposed to do to become a superstar.
I'm not going to say
he can just make the music that he wants to make and people will follow.
Yeah, but I'm not going to say it's better to not have superstars. I'm not going to say that. We do need superstars. We do need those artists that we look at and we're just like, wow. Like, you need that. I think every generation needs that.
They have Taylor.
Yeah, no, we have superstars. But again, you're talking about new superstars. Like, who do we see as the next superstars? I don't know. I don't know if I see one where I'm like,
you guys said Playboi Carti. It's funny that this conversation, you guys are finally agreeing with me that superstar is a different category.
No, I'm not.
Like
in that aspect of the conversation, we're talking about Carti. I was just saying the things that he's doing is superstar shit. Now, whether it's your type of vibe and your type of music that you can't really get into is a whole nother thing. I can't really get into that. I will never go to a Playboi Carti show. That's just not my type.
I would go for research purposes.
But I'm not going to sit here and say I don't think he's a superstar. I think that if Playboi Carti announced he was performing at a stadium tomorrow in any city, I think it sells out. Any city.
No way.
Okay.
A stadium by himself?
Yes.
No way.
Okay. All right.
Could he do the Garden? 100%. Couple nights.
Could he do MetLife?
No.
Travis just did MetLife.
This is where you guys get so disrespectful to certain artists that are in a different category. The amount of work Travis has put into his live show over the last 15 years is why he can do MetLife.
Travis has an insane live show.
Like, he's dedicated his life to the live.
He does.
Even if you don't like Travis's music, you're going to his live show because you know it's going to be a fucking experience.
Absolutely.
And this is where all my anger came from A-listers, superstars. Certain names shouldn't be with people that have put in so much work for so many decades. Like, that's why they can do that.
Okay, do you feel like Playboi has a bigger cult following than Travis?
A cult one, sure. But Travis has superseded a cult following.
I think anybody that has a cult following can sell out a stadium. When you have a cult following,
well, do you know what?
We got a cult following.
I was gonna say.
We don't have no cult following, man. Cut it out. We don't have a cult following. Ain't nobody trying to dress.
Definition?
Ain't nobody trying to dress and look like me and Rory, man. Cut this
shit. The fuck they are.
Demaris has brought this up.
Who, Demaris? Show me. Show me. Don't tell me. Show me.
When I
also, like, our brand isn't based off like our fashion sense.
Yeah.
Where a lot of artists, that is their thing.
Every time I post a picture, there's 15 money bags putting up underneath it.
A cult following.
That's from y'all.
A cult following is a group of fans who are highly dedicated to a person, idea, object, movement, or work. It's not a number.
It's not a number.
Like, at what point do we say this is a cult following or it's not?
Larry June has a cult following. A cult following is
Crazy cult
these
following.
people will live and die behind you. Everything you do is cool to them, like, and they're very, very dedicated to you. They want to be just like you. That's a cult following.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with numbers.
So do you think that Playboi Carti could sell out MetLife Stadium?
No, I don't think that. But I
Y'all
think
are crazy.
You're crazy. Do you know what it's like to sell out a stadium?
Yo, y'all are crazy that y'all think that. I think that's absolutely crazy that y'all think Playboi Carti cannot do that. You know, in New York, basically Jersey, but this is New York City. You don't think Playboi Carti could sell out the MetLife Stadium?
No.
That is
When was the last?
That is wild, bro.
But
That is
what
so
I will
wild.
say is, when it comes to him, I am not informed enough. I'll say that.
Fair.
I'm not
I
informed
appreciate
enough.
that.
I know that he has I know that he does have a cult following, but I don't know how that
His following is
translates
insane. Insane. He could, not only do I think he could sell out the MetLife Stadium, I think he could sell out the MetLife Stadium and just stand there. And people will fucking go crazy. Don't even say it. He can just stand there.
I think when it comes to selling out stadiums, you need more than the cult following. I think when it comes to selling out stadiums,
Yeah, you're gonna get
need
people
the
that's gonna
like,
go to try to figure out, like, all right, what is this? Because I'm hearing about this.
For example, when Beyonce has a concert, there are people who are not Beyonce fans who will go to a Beyonce show. It's going to be the same thing with Chris Brown. It's going to be the same thing with just any, like, people who have that fan base. Lady Gaga,
You ever went
Taylor
to a show
Swift,
of somebody you weren't a fan of and left as a fan?
No.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Because when you go to a show, you're usually already a fan?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't tend to go to live music shows. The only, like, I'm not a huge Travis Scott fan, but I went to a Travis Scott show. And I admire his ability to put on a live show. He's very, very entertaining. But the music, I'm not going to go home and just suddenly become a Travis Scott fan.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
2021, he did arenas, which I think he would still do arenas. I'm not trying to downplay any of his impact or how many fans he has, but 2021, one night at Barclays.
Okay.
And he was more active then, no?
I mean, his mystery has grown, and he's sold crazy.
His fan base has grown. Say that.
His mystery has grown.
Don't say his fan base has
mystery
grown. He just did some shit we've never seen when his album dropped. We just seen it. We just saw it.
We click a bunch of things we don't care about.
All right, man. All right. Okay.
That's not always tangible ticket sales.
Okay.
I don't fucking watch Aiden Ross, and I don't listen to Playboi Carti. I definitely fucking clicked when he paid $1 million and didn't show up. Or was that Aiden Ross? Whoever the fuck it was. $2 million, which obviously was a fucking lie. But I clicked it. You think I give a fuck about either of those people? And there's no disrespect.
I'm not saying
I'm not trying to come across
no,
that way.
I'm not saying you do, but I'm just asking you, how can you not see the insane fan base that Playboi Carti has, the insane shit he's done when he did with his album drop, the numbers that he did.
Incredible.
And not think that he can't sell out MetLife Stadium. It doesn't make
I think
sense.
it's a different monster, that's all.
Okay. All right. I respect it.